Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS with Rachelle. Folks, we're on Fitness Friday. It is always the best day of the week. Gotta love it. Folks, I am so excited. I'm back from hiatus, so excited to kick off this series here on the power of decisions. I've been talking about decisions all year. I'm gonna close this year out and actually decided I'm gonna have some episodes after the new year continuing this important topic on the power of decisions. A lot of decisions getting made this time of year and certainly at the beginning of the year, and I am looking so forward to this. So this episode, actually in this series, is going to be a fusion you're going to see from a personal standpoint, professional standpoint. So there's going to be a number of examples and story times, and I always want to kick off by stating, any entity, product or service that I discuss and highlight in this example and certainly subsequent episodes is not promotional in nature, and want to mention that, folks. But let me begin by stating, from a decision standpoint, I want to recognize, and there's something that's been circling on the rotisserie of my mind here for the last few weeks, in preparation for this particular series. And so when I think about decisions and the power of decisions, and about 30 seconds of clarity that this individual brought into my life and certainly to my mind regarding my own mission to, you always hear me talk about it, and there's several different components of it, but to help people and to tell the truth. And that helping people, and Nicole Saharsky. So I'm going to begin this episode with a story time. So back in April of 2017, was on campus in Evanston, Illinois for an alumni event. So Northwestern, they do a number of alumni events per year. For those who don't know, I'm an alumni leader, have been for a number of years now. And so this was an event for alums. So to make a long story short, because I got a lot to cover in this episode, so you know how in particularly networking events or organizational events, well, they'll have everyone stand up, go around the room and introduce themselves. And so I spoke and gave a few words of encouragement, which I do sometimes. And so during lunchtime, and so how, particularly if you're in a networking situation where you may be talking to people and there may be a couple of people around you or a couple of people waiting to speak with you after you speak with the person you're speaking to. And so that was the dynamic. I was speaking with somebody and there was somebody else standing there, and then Nicole Saharsky walked up. And then so she waited for me to finish talking. And then somebody else had come up after that. And then so she said, "Hey, Rachelle, tell me something good." And I so remember, I remember that moment. I'll probably never forget it. Tell me something good. Again, reflecting on the encouraging comments I had made when we all did introductions. And she said, "Tell me something good. You know something, Rachelle? You know what you do? You know what you do for people?" She said, "You provide validation." And she said, people, they kind of think to themselves, they genuinely typically know what they need to do in a situation, but then they hear you and they're like, yeah, she's right. I do need to do X, Y, and Z. And so, and again, I was in literally 30 seconds when that happened. I was like, okay, yeah, appreciate it, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And in a few days after that, because that comment was just, going through my mind over and over again, and I was thinking, now a bit on her background quickly. Now she went to Northwestern undergrad, but she went to University of Minnesota Law School. And so she has done a lot. She has argued successfully. She's argued cases before the Supreme Court. And so I remember in that moment thinking, like, this is the Supreme Court lady telling me that I provide validation. It was just a moment where it was kind of like, wow, somebody that argues and wins, has won cases before the Supreme Court of the United States, is telling me that I provide validation. And when I really think about it, we think about validation for what? Making decisions. And that was such a moment of clarity for me. And I've certainly, after that meeting, a few days later, I was reaching out to fellow alums via email. The Supreme Court lady, what's her name? Remind me what's her name again. Refresh, because there was a lot of people in that group that day, all going around doing introductions. Tell me her name, whatever. So anyway, I got her email and just sent a message, email and said, I just want to thank you, for the encouragement and for the comments that you made. They provided a great deal of clarity regarding just my life and my mission and what I'm hoping to accomplish. And so when I think about the power of decisions, and I think about that moment in my own life where it was highlighted to me the power of decisions, and there's her decision to to share her thoughts with me in that moment was just so powerful, and it provided such clarity in terms of how I help people, how people perceive, and I look back in hindsight of, things that I've done over the years, and all of this and that, and it's truly about, there's a lot of huge component, a majority component is around decision making. So that was just powerful. So I had to start off with that. And so, folks, when you think about the power of decisions, and I want to address this particular article from Athletic Business, Andy Berg, on October 6th of this year. And this truly gets at the heart of it. Yeah, there's power of decisions, and that's, we could look at a gazillion different ways to think about the power of decisions, but this one specifically deals with the power, in my opinion, of a decision to be prepared, a decision to be prepared. And the title of this, I saved this, CrossFit box owner saves gym goer's life with AED. The power of preparation. Let me go ahead and read this. The life of a gym goer in Evanston, Illinois was saved after the owner of the club where he was working out acted quickly and administered an AED to restart his heart. Illinois law requires that all gyms in the state have an AED in the facility, and Tani Mintz, owner of Sharp Edge CrossFit, calmly administered the device when Mike Fowler's heart stopped during an afternoon CrossFit class on Sunday. According to the Evanston Roundtable, the class was just starting and participants were practicing proper weightlifting form with PVC pipes. Fowler went down and was trying to catch his breath. Fowler was new to the gym, and Mintz asked him if he was all right. Fowler's breath did not look or sound right, so Mintz called 911. When she looked back to check on him, he was on his side and unresponsive. That's when she grabbed the AED from the office wall. The machine is basically dummy-proof, Mintz told the roundtable. You do what it tells you to do. The machine's LED readout instructed shocking the patient. Mintz applied the pads. Everyone stood back, and the shock jolted Fowler's body. After the shock to Fowler's heart, the AED directed Mintz to begin compressions. Cordell Larkin, a gym goer who was present and also a doctor, stepped in. Mintz then pressed the button in the AED that provides metronome beats for Larkin to follow with his compressions. Fowler remained unconscious. Larkin ended up cracking two of Fowler's ribs, which Fowler said doctors told him was a sign Larkin was doing the compressions correctly. All right, so folks, and I'm just going to cut it off there in the interest of time, but folks, the power of a decision in this particular case to save a life. And as I told you on these Fitness Friday episodes, the examples that I like to provide can be very generic, can be applied. So again, this was a CrossFit box example, but the issues of AEDs and the potential that they have to save lives and their ubiquitousness and fitness facilities cannot be overstated. So I just wanted to again, and I know a few weeks ago I highlighted that example of litigation that occurred in the state of Illinois that talked about LA Fitness from years ago, a lawsuit and litigation and from all of that, and it dealt with this whole situation regarding AEDs. And so want to make sure to continue to highlight this particular point by, in this case, providing an example of the power of what can happen when an AED is used. So I had to highlight that. Next, again, the power of decisions. And particularly for those who have leadership, again, a big portion of what I do here on Fitness Friday is very leadership focused, leadership development focused. And Pamela Kufal, and this one was so good, I actually wrote it down. I remember it wasn't near my computer or anything, and I just said, this is really good. And so Pamela Kufal, the content director of Club Industry, on August 30th of this year. Now the title of this article was TRX founder Randy Hetrick buys TRX for $8.4 million in bankruptcy auction. You recall earlier this year I talked about how TRX filed for bankruptcy. I wish TRX well because They just, we talk about ubiquitousness. You find TRX in a lot of different, all types of facilities. So we want to see TRX thrive and do well. And let me just go ahead and read a little bit here from that particular article. After filing for Chapter 11 in June, TRX has been bought by Hedrick and Jack Daly, who heads JFXD Capital, offered the winning bid of $8.4 million at an August 17th auction. Again, the power of decision. All right, TRX founder Randy Hedrick. And so certainly from a leadership standpoint, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, when someone founds a company, corporation, organization, there's certainly a lot there from that person that wanted, individual wanting to see the business entity, whatever it is, nonprofit, thrive, product or service, thrive. And so I wanted to give this particular update because, like I said, I talked about this summer and wanted to see them do well. And so they've taken another step in a more positive direction where it has been a winning bid at an auction as far as their bankruptcy filing. So wanted to highlight that. And so we think about shifting gears here a little bit. So we think about the power of making decisions. And I've spoken certainly last year and certainly this year. Pull out some visual aids again. Certainly for those who watch during those particular episodes, you recall them. We think about decision making, and there's certainly a lot of things that influence decision making, decisions of all types. But what I want to do is focus here today, for this particular episode, certainly heard me talk about the AIDA model. The AIDA model. I remember learning this model as a public relations undergraduate in Louisiana. And it's amazing because you kind of study it. And so we were learning about the AIDA model, certainly from a public relations and an issues advocacy standpoint. And so, there's applications in advertising, there's applications for marketing. So, but anyway, so we think about the AIDA model. So the awareness, interest, desire, and action, moving an individual certainly through these phases, through these steps, because ultimately you want them to take action, an action of some point. Whether it be a nonprofit, you may want them to donate. You may want them to donate monetarily. You may want them to donate their time. And certainly, from a fitness standpoint, you may want them to download your app. You may want them to join your facility. You may want them to sign up for a class. There's just so many different ways we think about the AIDA model, certainly from new product launches, service launches, facility launches. Anyway, there's just certainly a lot here. And so I wanted to highlight this AIDA model because I have some news to share. This is something that I've alluded to here on Fitness Friday. So Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS going back to 2020, the fall of 2020, fall, and certainly moving on into February of 2021 and March of 2021. I've highlighted this particular program because my background, so I do a lot with competitive analysis standpoint. So you've heard me talk about the David, it's a Goliath versus Goliath, matchup between Amazon Prime and Walmart Plus. Just for full disclosure, I've been a member of Amazon Prime since 2018. But this particular episode, I wanted to share the news that I have formally joined, or technically rejoined, Walmart Plus. And I say rejoin because, in their marketing to me, it says rejoin Walmart Plus. So to refresh your memories, I've talked about this 2 or 3 times since it happened, where I was on a trial for the Walmart Plus program and decided not to move forward and just keep that particular membership. And so anyway, they've been after me as many entities are from a marketing standpoint. Rejoin, come back. And I remember seeing some of those, again, in the spirit of transparency, and for anyone who's seen a number of episodes, I've since my childhood have been a Walmart loyalist, as being a little girl in Biloxi, Mississippi, and that first location opening up there in that particular area, and that's when they were really starting to expand in southern states. And so I've been a long time Walmart shopping loyalist. And so when I thought about when I was on that particular trial and then the trial lapsed and I didn't sign up, And then they would send me these offers to try, renew, and it was renew at full price. And I mentioned this on an episode because I'm thinking, certainly from a marketing standpoint in my mind, give me something more compelling. Give me something, just give me a compelling offer. And, I'm big on sales promotions personally. They can certainly motivate me and drive me to take action. And so, finally, with all due respect, Walmart on November 2nd. So I was actually opened up the app, was looking to see if an item was in stock, which I always do. Just inventory, I just like to see before I make a trip or whatever. Is it in stock? Am I about to waste a trip? And so, and I must commend, Walmart has, they've done in Sam's Club as well in terms of stuff being in stock and out of stock. I'm very big on saving time with that. So did that, and then so when I opened up the app, I see this promotional offer, Walmart Plus limited time, 6 months free Walmart Plus. Get half off an annual membership, early access to online Black Friday deals, save with free delivery, gas discounts, and more. Pay $49 for the first year of an annual membership. Offer ends 11/3/2022 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. Not available to current paid members. So here it is. So, and again, just to read the rest of the terms and conditions for full information. By signing up, you agree that your plan will auto-renew. So again, it's this auto-renewal concept for $98 a year plus applicable taxes until you cancel. Cancel through your account prior to the renewal date to avoid future charges. So, I talk about this aspect of cancellations, how from a consumer behavior standpoint, think about marketing, and there's certainly different aspects of marketing, but the consumer behavior standpoint of the ease of cancellation, which I've called certainly the Amazonification of cancellations, where people want to click a button and be done. And so, but anyway, so this was an example, or this is an example of that, where I was waiting. So when I think about going back to the ADA model, all right, awareness. Was I aware of the Walmart Plus program? Absolutely. Was I interested in it? Absolutely. I'd already used it, was pleased. Now, from a comparison standpoint, and they have certainly added a lot more components and features to that particular program since then. And so the interest was there, my desire to join it, particularly now that they've added additional things, has certainly grown since I was first on the trial. And so here I was hanging out here, waiting to take action. And so you'll find that regardless of your facility, whatever product services you offer, there's many people that may be sitting right here, waiting for something to cause them to take the next step and take action, quite frankly. And so for me, it was finally on November 2nd at 2:52 p.m. It's funny because I took a screenshot and then I printed it out and said, okay, finally, they've given me a compelling offer. And so I signed up. And so I just wanted to certainly go back and tie up that loose end and say, hey, guess what? I know I've talked about this for a while, Amazon Prime as well as Walmart Plus, and so I'm actually now a member of both. And so they sent me an email, just confirming what I needed to do to cancel, yada, yada, yada. Rachelle, welcome to Walmart Plus. Welcome to Walmart Plus. So there it is. But I just want to highlight that. So when you think about it, I had the trial in February of 2021. All right, so that trial lapsed in March of 2021. And so I joined, or technically according to their terms, rejoined on November 2nd, 2022. So recognize it may take people a while to get through these phases. Some, it may take a while to finally take that action step you're waiting for someone to take. They may never take it. It just depends on, there's a lot of different factors here, advertising, marketing, brand touch points, and there's just so much there. And so from this standpoint, I'll just say, control what you can control. Control what you can control to drive them through the awareness step, the interest step, the desire, these phases that comprise the ADA model. And before I move on, you've heard me talk about another example. I've highlighted HelloFresh in marketing series in years past, because I'm always getting direct mail pieces. I get them in my home mail. I get them in, my P.O. box, my post office box mail. But this one was a little unique. This one was a little bit unique. And so we see the pre-printed address labels here. Got it in cursive there, a little bit different. trying to draw interest and attention, because we know, as I've talked about on previous marketing episodes, direct mail can be very, very tough. Certainly from an ROI, or return on investment standpoint, direct mail is way at the bottom. In terms of return on investment, it can be very expensive and the returns are typically very low, but there are certainly return on investments can be very low. But there are certainly things that can be done to increase the ability for your direct mail piece, if you're going in that direction or you've gone in that direction, to make an impact, to call someone to open it up or pay attention or read or scan a QR code or go to your website. Don't have time to get in all of that, but I wanted to highlight this HelloFresh example that I received last week. And so what does it say on the very front? And I know you can't see particularly that very top line there, and so I'm going to read it to you. Come back for 17 free meals across 6 boxes and 3 surprise gifts. And it has where I need to go to redeem that. Early access, don't miss out on this deal. 17 free meals with this coupon code here, with this card. They have sent me a lot, because what happened was, there was a lady on Nextdoor, it had to be 2018, 2019, here in our Novi area, who was asking people, has anybody tried HelloFresh? She was a happy customer. Again, referrals, that's exactly what she was doing. I've talked a lot about referral marketing over the years. And so she was saying, hey, I have a coupon code where you can get, it was like 2 or 3 meals, to a trial of 2 or 3 meals for 1 week, and you can give it a try. So I gave it a try. Didn't work out for me, because as I alluded to on an earlier episode this year or last year's marketing episode, I'm a non-conformist, so getting kind of those prepackaged meals, I like stuff seasoned a certain way. I tend to like very spicy foods, so it's like I want to cook my food the way I want to cook my food. So it didn't work for me, but it works for a lot of people, and certainly I respect all the people who love these type of services where it saves them time and helps them to eat healthy and all of this and that. But I wanted to talk about, you've heard me talk about, in this most recent marketing series, when I said, think about customer acquisition and how expensive it is to get a new customer. Certainly true in the fitness space, to get a new member. I mean, historically speaking, from a marketing standpoint, it's expensive. Customer acquisition can be expensive. Why? Because particularly generating the awareness of a product, service, new club, whatever, whether it's a new product, service, new product launch, service launch, new facility or studio launch, this right here can be very expensive. These phases, generating that awareness, interest, desire, and action. And so what we have here with HelloFresh, you can see I've already been through that. I've already been through the phases. All right, I took action, but did not move forward with continuing to use them. But the point I wanted to make with this example is those words, come back for, and how getting a customer back, customer reacquisition, can also be very expensive. So certainly keep that in mind. And so these compelling offers, these sales promotional offers, and certainly historically speaking, can be effective in helping to move folks to that action phase, getting them to take action, whatever that action is that you would want them to do. And so I want to give you an example here, a marketing example, and as I've told you, since 2021, I've been always studied. There's a couple of entities that I study every year in the fitness industry, and so just a professional and personal interest. And so I've studied several over the years. Started out my very first entity that I studied, like early on, like year 1 of Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS years ago, was Anytime Fitness. And so for 2021, continuing on to 2022, Peloton and Tonal. You've heard me mention both of these because, again, they're operating in a very different space. We're talking about at-home fitness, and there's so much going on with Peloton, and so I'm not going to be highlighting them in this particular episode, but I wanted to highlight a couple of marketing examples, with Tonal, because, again, I want to bring you along, so to speak, from time to time on this ride as I study these particular entities. Because, again, as you know, none of these entities, just to reinforce what I said at the beginning of the episodes, I'm not promoting, I'm not endorsing, not recommended any of these entities. Products or services that I discuss, these are certainly for informational, educational purposes, only in these particular episodes. So, as I told you, just to quickly refresh So late 2021, I actually went to the Nordstrom's in Troy, Michigan to the tonal shop. And so went there, they put the tonal set up, you set an appointment, you get a demonstration, whatever, talked about that. I'm not gonna revisit all of that. So you think about, again, the steps going through the AIDA model, because again, I'm technically in their target market, but I'm actually not, because I'm old school. I like a gym. I like, yes, I have my home equipment, but it's like I have 2 levels of equipment. I'm all over the place in a gym. I'm all over the place here in my house, and so, but it works well for people. They've got some people that love it and used it, and tonal fans. But I study tonal while I'm not in their target audience, and I'm certainly not going to be buying a tonal, with all due respect, because it's just not for me. And but there's a lot of people that it works for, but I study them, with an objective measure. So my ability or my desire to own a tonal has no bearing on when I'm studying an entity. And so receive this email. So after I had that went and had the demonstration and all of that, I get their emails from time to time, and I highlight them occasionally, typically during marketing episodes. So received an email from Tonal titled "Your Most Effective at-Home Workout." So this was Thursday, November 3rd, 2022 at 6:03 p.m. Came from hello@tonal.com. And so when I printed these out, and I know Rachelle, the recycler and environmentalist, but for the purposes of Fitness Friday, I want to give you guys something to see. For a long time, I printed them out earlier years of Fitness Fridays, and I stopped printing them out. So anyway, I want you to be able to see from the time to time, I'm going to print them out and just recycle them. That will be okay. And so what you see here at the beginning of this email, and I'm going to read it to you, of course. Strength you can share. With thousands of live and encore classes to choose from, you can bring home an entire gym for you and your family for the price of one gym membership. See how much your household, could save with a Tonal membership. Clickable button, explore Tonal. All right, the next page. So when you think about the power of decisions, we think about the AIDA model. We think about this product and how during the coronavirus pandemic, during the height of the pandemic, when gyms and facilities and studios were closed. All right, and so we talked about that. I talked about that a lot in 2020 and certainly 2021, and how the at-home fitness sector exploded when that happened. And so we have Tonal here, that's certainly part of that market. And so recent months here, very recent months, you see them, the gloves, as I mentioned a few episodes ago, the gloves have come off from a marketing standpoint, and you see their customer acquisition strategy here, where they are going head-to-head against gyms and certainly going head-to-head against other home fitness options. So just bear with me. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. So here on the next page here, and so we want you to, again, to see the visual, the check mark for Tonal and the X mark for gyms and studios, again, going head-to-head. So again, I study competitive analysis, so I'm just very interested in this dynamic here. So I'm going to read them to you. One piece of equipment, unlimited workouts, Tonal, checkmark, gyms and studios, X. Unlimited profiles and personalized progress tracking, Tonal, checkmark, gyms and studios, X. 24/7 access to personal training and expert-led workouts, Tonal, check, gyms and studios, X. Break a sweat / get strong from the comfort of your own home, Tonal, checkmark, gyms and studios, X. No waiting in line to use equipment, ever. Tonal, checkmark, gyms and studios, X. No need to compromise. Bring Tonal home today and get everything you need with one membership for your entire household. Buy Tonal, clickable link, right? And so the last page here is the financials. It's the financials, cost of ownership, cost of purchase a Tonal. Get the smartest home gym. So notice that smartest home gym has become part of their messaging here in recent weeks. The smartest home gym, recent months, in your space for as low as $73 per month, 48 months, 0% APR. Clickable link, learn more. All right, let me read just for the sake of kind of full information, full disclosure. Read the terms and conditions. So again, from a marketing standpoint, getting someone to take action. The cost piece can be. It can certainly, depending on what the product or service is and the cost, could certainly cause someone to take action, particularly if there's a discount, if there's a rebate, reward, or it can be prohibitive. It just from a cost standpoint, it just depends on who the target market is, what the offer is, what the pricing is. Not going to get back into the 4 P's of marketing, but I discussed that a few weeks ago. Here, the terms and conditions. Rates are 0% APR and $0 down based on credit and subject to an eligibility check. For example, $3,495 purchase might cost $72.81 a month over 48 months at 0% APR. Membership, accessories, and delivery and installation not included. Payment options through Affirm are provided by these leading partners. Affirm.com/lenders. Option depend on your purchase amount and a down payment may be required. All right, I talked to you earlier weeks ago and I told you the price of tonal went up, and so it's now $34.95. And so here at the very end of their email, they've got the tonal systems and their address, but they've also added here in recent weeks, find your tonal location. Somerset Collection, all right, that's the name of the mall, 2850 West Big Beaver Road. And so they included that because they wanted people to go in and see a tonal for themselves. When you think about the ADA model, think about, yes, tonals have been out for a while, but there's still a lot of awareness that needs to be generated because you're talking about a whole different ballgame. A machine that costs $34.95 plus additional costs and fees. All right, so there's a lot there, and it takes a lot to convince someone to spend $34.95 plus additional fees. But what I wanted you to see was the competitive strategy versus gyms and studios. So there's a lot there from a marketing standpoint that I'm not going to get into, but wanted to highlight another example from tonal before I wrap this episode up here with a personal example, with a personal story time on the power of decisions. So when you think about from a marketing standpoint, the ADA model, look at other different models, but what we really want, just at the end of the day, it's about getting a prospect to make a decision. Prospective member, or if you want a member to upgrade, whatever the case may be, you want to get that individual to take action. Download an app, sign up for a subscription service, refer somebody to also become a member, or try a day or so, or a week or whatever, of coming to the gym for free, free trial. And so when you think about the power of decisions, and marketing drives decisions, can drive decisions. So that's really what I wanted to highlight. So I'm highlighting these examples from tonal in the interest of time. I'm not going to get into highlighting a whole bunch of different examples, but you can see this is a very generous episode. I mean, it's not on the surface generous, but there's a lot to unpack in this episode, and I did this on purpose. So the second example, this email that I received from tonal, is entitled Big Gains Shouldn't Cost Big Dollars. Received it on Wednesday, October 26, 2022 at 7:02 p.m. from, yes, hello@tonal.com. And so what we see here from a competitive analysis, competitive strategy standpoint is tonal going toe-to-toe, head-to-head against other home fitness equipment with the manufacturer's brands. And so this is the very first, the very beginning of the email. That's what you see. And I'm going to read this. It says, more for less. Don't spend $10,000 on a home gym when you can have everything you need and more with tonal. Clickable link for Shop Tonal. All right, just next so you can see it visually. Focused fitness. Point number 1 is focused fitness. Tonal learns from you and sets the right weight and resistance for you. Next, max out every rep. Maximize your workout while tonal changes the weight in every rep. Next, get results faster. Train smarter and see results quicker with tonal's intelligent variable resistance. All right, so this is the last picture for this particular email. Again, their attempt and their desire to influence decision making, to get someone, a prospect, to see this and say, I'm making the phone call, I'm going into the Nordstrom to find one, I'm going to get an online demonstration, I'm going for a demonstration in person, I'm going to go to their website, getting a person, moving them along, a prospect along the continuum to get them to take action. And so you think about tonal is very AI or artificial intelligence driven, so you can see that reflected in their marketing messaging. And so last page, not going to read it in the interest of time because it was the same numbers as the last email that I received. But there is an example, a couple of examples from Tonal. So marketing at the end of the day wants to get a prospect to take some sort of action. Don't have time to get into Peloton today, but wanted to highlight those couple of examples from Tonal. Power of decisions. Power of decisions. And again, their desire, or any fitness entity's desire, to get an individual, a prospect, or a member to take action, whatever action that is that you would like them to take, is also predicated on the decisions that you have made. All right, the marketing decisions, customer service decisions. So there's just a whole lot there to unpack from a decision-making standpoint. And so, folks, I want to wrap this article up. You think about the power of decisions with a story time. So when you go back to the height of the pandemic, March of 2020. It's hard to believe it's almost been 3 years, but March of 2020. And so Rachelle, a resident here of Novi-Michigan. When I first moved to Michigan, I lived in Dearborn, and then bought this condo here in Novi. And so, power of decisions. So we had primary election here in Michigan. We actually had 3 elections. So we had primary in March 2020, and another election in August 2020, and then the November 2020 election. So in March, you remember many things were closing down, but our elections were moving forward, and there was a call, actually pretty much nationally, for poll workers. A lot of folks were concerned about contracting the coronavirus, so they lost a lot of long-time poll workers as a result of that. So we had calls for poll workers across the country, and definitely here in the state of Michigan, which is a battleground state. And so I'd never been a poll worker before, and so I raised my hand. Yes, I'll be a poll worker. Yes, great. And so I had a wonderful experience. I remember I talked about that after the very first time I did it, mentioned that on a Fitness Friday, so learned a lot and really enjoyed it. But what being a poll worker is for me is slightly different, because what I view it as, just based on the work that I do, is a wonderful leadership and leadership development opportunity. I mean, I had no idea what I was walking into, but it's just wonderful. So anyway, worked those elections that year. Ultimately became a precinct co-chair here in precinct 13 here in Novi. Had a wonderful experience. And then we had another election, 2021. But long story short, all right. And so part of this is just when you think about the power of decisions, and people often, one of the most frequent comments I hear and questions I get is, Rachelle, you are the happiest, most positive person I know. And so, I mean, it's been a lot of years. People have been saying that. And so what I have been doing for several weeks now, again, is decisions, circling on the rotisserie of my mind. Why, yes. And part of that is the initial decision that I made, that being unhappy is unacceptable. I mean, it's just, at the end of the day, just being unhappy is unacceptable. So a lot of my actions, gravitate towards that. And so even something like being a poll worker is, and the example I'm going to give you just reflects, and I want to pull this visual out, and I've highlighted this certainly this year and last year as well. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's one of my favorite concepts, topics ever. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because it describes me. It helps to define in terms of some of the actions, some of the things that I've done in the past, and what I've done, and what drives that. And so you think about all of us, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and how important that is. And so we've got physiological needs, we've got safety and security needs, we've got love and belonging needs, and esteem needs, and self-actualization. All right, and so this is where I live up here, at self-actualization. So I'm waking up just wanting to be the best version of myself. All right, not coming from a feeling of inadequacy, of, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I gotta get better. Oh, I gotta get better. Oh, I get better. We're all imperfect. There's no such thing as a imperfect human being. But there's a difference in waking up saying, I'm going to be the best me that I can be, from a standpoint of, oh, I'm not good enough, versus, hey, the I'm just going to be the best that I can be because that's what I deserve. That's what those around me deserve. That's what strangers and anybody that may interact with me on a personal, professional level deserves. All right, so there's a very, very big difference. And so from a confidence standpoint, we don't want to wake up every day feeling inadequate, feeling like we're just, the scum of the earth and nothing we ever do is good enough. All right, feeling with an inferiority complex. No, we are all worthy human beings with value, and we have to recognize our value before anyone else will. So getting off here into confidence, which I'm very, very prone to do because I'm very big on that concept as well. Very big on confidence. So when we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs here in the self-actualization. So going back to the poll worker example. So had a wonderful experience. It was great. I'm a very proud resident of Novi. Yeah, rah, rah, rah. Wonderful experience. However, when I think about, and I put out just to speed this example up. So long story short, I had a wonderful experience. And in 2021, how it is, some communities will have elections for special things or proposals or amendments or whatever. All right, so in 2021, I actually served as a poll worker in my old stomping ground, Dearborn, here in Dearborn, Michigan, where I used to live and I love Dearborn. I actually spend probably 1 or 2 days a month. I'm down in Dearborn still. And so, but that's no reflection on Novi, my opinion of Novi, my being a Novi resident. But long story short, worked the polls there, absolutely loved it. And very, very recently, as of this week, as of November 8th, I worked the polls in Dearborn again. And this is the training packet, City of Dearborn, which I received. But I had a wonderful experience working the polls. And so when I think about from a decision-making standpoint, and then it's like, oh my gosh, well, she used to work in Novi, now she's working in Dearborn, what's going on, whatever. Absolutely nothing. Had a wonderful experience in Novi. Would recommend it to others. But part of my personality, part of the inner self-actualizer in me, again, I'm always looking to just be the best version of myself and learn and grow and develop. So I don't like to grow stagnant. I know, and it's funny, I had a sales manager years ago, Rachelle, you don't let grass grow under your feet. I like to be challenged. I like to be developed. I like to grow. I like to learn. So for me, just spending years and years, at the same place, I mean, that is, just incredibly rare for me. And so for me to reach out when I said other communities, okay, who else is having an election? Nobody wasn't having an election, special election. What other communities? And so I'm at Dearborn, so I'm working, the polls in Dearborn here. And so, ultimately, I'd like to do a rotation in Ann Arbor and in the city of Detroit and, other communities, some in Lansing, perhaps northern Michigan one year. I think part of that is just being raised in a military environment, in the military, where they have, their personnel, military service members, moving and rotating every few years or so, moving around. And I recognize now the beauty of that, where you learn, you grow, you develop, you encounter different people. It's a wonderful thing. But I recognize a lot of people don't like change. But folks, I had a wonderful experience. I learned, I grew, I was challenged. It was wonderful. Right? So in 2021, when I worked in Dearborn, I was in the west side of the city. This year, I was right in the heart of East Dearborn, so loved every solitary second of it. But it's a self-actualizer, okay? It's a self-actualizer. And so when we think about the power of decision, so people are, why are you so happy? You're so positive. And part of that, again, because I'm making decisions. I'm making decisions to reinforce that, And so we've got to know ourselves. We got to recognize, okay, what are some of our preferences? What do we like? What do we dislike? In driving our decisions. And so, I'm being very, very transparent here. And I've utilized, when I've talked about both the AIDA model and the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, talking about Edge Fitness and how I first encountered Edge Fitness. Reading about it, then going to the grand opening of my club and September 28, 2019, talked about that whole process in previous episodes. So this all relates. And so I try to be transparent so you can see these steps when I take an action. And so see, again, and that's a perfect example as we think about the power of decision making. I'm just recognizing, okay, what's important to me? Okay, I like to see, a nice cardio, breath of cardio machines. Different things, just wonderful. Just wonderful. But that's a decision. That was a decision. All right, and so we all make various decisions of our lives, in our lives, for our lives. Our decisions impact ourselves and certainly can impact, and often do impact other people, folks. So let's just think about the power of our decisions. And so I like to reinforce when I think about happiness being just a fundamental value in my life. And so yeah, you can look at various aspects of my life, and yes, I'm happy. But it started with a decision. It started with a decision in each and every instance. And so we're going to continue this conversation next time. I cannot wait. We're going to talk about, in the realm of decision making, motives, the power of motives when we make decisions. But as I wrap up here with this courage, see this courage rock that I purchased. I like to give a shout out sometimes from the Dollar Tree in Brighton, Michigan, because I go to so many different Dollar Trees in the U.S. I've been to so many, you have no idea. So I bought this on October 10th, and I saw this as I was checking out this courage rock. And when I saw it, the first thing that came to my mind was a paperweight. Yeah, that would be a great paperweight. And I'm sure you saw it. You got different thoughts, and you had different thoughts of ways you could use it or whatever, apply it. And then I thought to myself, no, this would be a great paperweight. Because why? You think about decision making and the power of decision making, the power of our decisions. So and how often they require courage. And so when you think about, all right, just utilizing these two here, these two pieces of paper, and if there's no weight, what happens? If I blow really hard, it's going to fly. They're going to fly off. But with this paperweight, it's courage. So we think about the concept of courage, holding us down. When the winds of life blow on us, blow us to the right, blow us to the right, pardon me, blow us to the left. I had to think about you're watching it from a different angle. Blow us forward, blow us backward. The coronavirus pandemic, all these changes, all these things happening. Courage is required when we make decisions in life, folks. So stay tuned for next week when I'm going to take this one step further. We're going to look at the motives for the decisions that we make. And we need to work hard and really make it a point not to make decisions based on insecurity and fear. Most times, those will be very bad decisions. So we're going to talk about that next time, folks. But until then, always remember, I am positively passionate about your fitness and success and decisions makers.